Audio made possible by www.jackettomee.com. Audio Fanfiction Productions presents Wide Awake. Fanfiction written by Angscata003. Fanfiction inspired by The Twilight Saga written by Stephanie Meyer. Chapter 12. Fudge.
Edward's point of view. It was the very first day in well over a week I didn't eat my cookies at lunch. No fucking way was I letting Jez see the name of the cookies. He came strutting into the lunchroom in his holey jeans and grubby band shirt, peeking sideways at Brandon's table. And I just had to roll my fucking eyes. I was giving it a month. If he didn't man up by then, I was taking the situation into my own hands. My girl would give me a hand. He took his seat in front of me without a word, searching the table in front of me for something. Probably the absent bag of cookies I just ate on the way home, or some shit. After eating half of his disgustingly greasy school burger he'd earned in his seat, to glance back at my girl's table, where she was reading, and eating her fucking Scooby snacks. Jasper turned back around with a wry smile. "So, word has it that new girl over there," he pointed with his thumb back toward Bella, "has added violence and bodily injury to her repertoire." He smirked and took a drink of milk. I furrowed my brow. What the fuck is he talking about? How so? I asked casually, as to not raise any suspicions. He chuckled then, trying to hold it in long enough to spit the words out. "I heard that she assaulted Stanley with a basketball in gym Friday." He snickered, shaking his head. This was certainly a new development. Why the fuck would Bella assault Stanley? Not that the thought of it didn't make me want to laugh too. Because, sincerely, it did. Jez continued on after his chuckling fit calmed down. "Just fucking took the ball and chucked it at her head." He started laughing harder. I know, right?" He snickered. "Balls flying at Stanley's head. Just sounds like another day to me." He chuckled harder at his own joke. My stomach sank. Friday was Bella's really crappy day. And somehow, that fucking bitch Stanley was involved. My fists clenched. No wonder Bella wouldn't tell me about what was bothering her. I offered Jez a devious smirk, because that's what he'd expect out of me from that story. And if it were anyone else doing it, I probably would without effort. We were silent the rest of lunch. And I really fucking tried to just let it go, and make up my mind to not pry. But I couldn't. Because I had to know just how badly I was going to have fucked that Stanley bitch up. Whoever invented the term "it's not polite to hit a girl" has clearly never fucked Jessica Stanley. It took me months to get her off my back, after that one night. Phone calls, letters in my locker, she even told her fucking friends about my scars. And that wasn't enough to make me want to hit her. But I couldn't let her spread her venom to my girl. When I walked into Bio, Bella was already in her seat, with that fucking hood up. I had never felt the urge so strongly to yank it off her head. She was hiding. She was hiding shit from me. I didn't like it. Once I got settled into my seat and Mr. Banner started his lecture on DNA, I ripped a piece of paper from my notebook, and began writing Bella a note. It was against the rules. But I could give a fuck less at that moment. "What the fuck did Stanley do to you?" I folded the paper up nice and small, and slid it to her side of the lab table. She looked at it incredulously. She wasn't expecting me to break the rules either. Hesitantly, she picked up a note, and began unfolding it. I watched her reaction closely. I didn't give a fuck who saw me looking at her. Her eyes widened, and she stiffened. She sat there for a while, just staring at the note, before she slumped into her seat, and frowned, and then lifted her pencil to the paper, and scribbled a reply. It was too fucking quick. She folded it carefully, and slid it back to me slowly. I opened it, kind of pissed. I knew I wasn't going to get a sufficient explanation right now. "Tonight," was all it said. I balled my fist with the paper still in it, and threw the crumpled ball into my bag. I sent a very pointed glance into her big brown eyes. Yes. Tonight. No fucking way was she weaseling out of this one. She slumped further into her seat, and dropped her head even lower. Shame. That's what the look was. and I didn't know why she felt ashamed, but I was going to find out. When the bell rang, I left the classroom first, but I didn't go to my class just yet. I waited until Bella walked out, hood up and head down, traveling towards gym. I followed behind her a few feet. Everyone seemed to swerve around her. It was like parting the Red Sea, or some shit. They didn't even look at her anymore, they just got out of the fucking way. It was kind of shitty, and it was kind of good, all at the same time. As we approached the gym, I could see Stanley and her bunch of rabid skank hyenas gathering near the entrance. I stopped so I wouldn't be seen, and casually leaned against the brick wall. When Bella walked up to the doors, Stanley glowered at her, following her with an evil eye. If looks could kill, I'd be scraping up my girl's corpse from that gym entrance. Stanley never said anything to her, just fucking followed her in, and then I was even more pissed because I knew that all those dirty skanks were going to go into that locker room and fuck with my girl. And there wasn't a goddamn thing I could do about it. When the last bell rang, I rushed to the parking lot. I had to get one look at Bella just to make sure she was okay. I stood against the door of my Volvo, watching the gym entrance anxiously. The guys filtered out first, looking sweaty and gross, and a whole lot like Emmett on a practice day. After all the guys were gone, the girls began filtering out. I straightened my back to get a better view through the crowd. Stanley and her skanks walked out looking as slutty as ever, smacking on bubble gum, and snickering. Of course that just made me worry even more. Finally, the last out of the gym, Bella came shuffling out. But she had that goddamn hood up and her head down. Still fucking hiding. Brandon was already in her car, waiting to get home. And when Bella turned to open the door, she lifted her head just enough so that I could get one glance at her face as she got in. Her eyes were red and puffy, and I knew my girl well enough to know she had been crying. She climbed into Brandon's Porsche and closed the door quietly. Not an angry slam, not a wrathly slam, but a quiet, timid click. My stomach clenched even tighter as I watched them drive away. I drove Jazz home feeling pretty fucking somber. He didn't say shit to me. He knew my moods well enough to know if I was conversational. He got out with a quick wave when I pulled up to his house. I sped home faster than usual. It was stupid to do. It's not like it would make the clock move any closer to 10. I waited in my room, pacing and running my fingers through my hair, and just trying to stay occupied until 10 came. I sketched some more. I even read a little of Bella's book. When Carlisle came home, I went downstairs and talked to him, just to pass the time. He didn't have anything ridiculously interesting to say. But he was going to another medical conference this weekend, and I was pretty fucking positive that meant another house party, but I kept my mouth shut. Because honestly, I wouldn't be entirely opposed to spending a night getting fucked up. When it was almost 10, I opened the balcony door, and stood out there waiting in the cold. I could see Bella coming from the Brandon house as she walked out the door to the kitchen with her bag on her back like always. I watched